When it comes to sales, do you like to just cut to the chase and get direct, or do you prefer to be a little more subtle? In today's episode, we're going to talk about how both versions of sales are necessary. And when it comes to social media posting, there's a difference between the direct post and the indirect post. We need both of them. I'm going to break it down for you on what their distinctions are and how they work. I think this is going to be really helpful. Let's get started.
Hey there, this is Corinna Bench, and welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast. In today's market, it's not enough to just grow your product. You've got to know how to sell it too. Welcome to the My Digital Farmer podcast, where we reveal online marketing strategies and tips to help farmers like you get better and more confident at marketing. Learn how to find more customers, increase your sales, and build a strong brand for your farm. Let's start the show.
Well, welcome to episode 250 of the My Digital Farmer podcast. I'm your host, Corinna Bench, one of the farmers at Shared Legacy Farms out in Elmore, Ohio. I'm also the founder of MyDigitalFarmer.com, which is all about trying to help other farmers like you get more confident in your marketing and sales strategy so that you can grow a profitable business. How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to the show. A big shout out to all of my regular listeners. That includes all of you who are binge listening. I love it. And if you're new to the podcast, I'm glad you're here today. Make sure you subscribe to the show and go check out my first 10 episodes. They are designed to be an on-ramp into the marketing lingo. Or you could just scroll through and see what jumps out at you, what tickles your fancy. There's been a ton of good stuff shared over the last few years, over 240 episodes now, so lots to choose from. Now, another great place to learn the ropes when it comes to farm marketing is to get onto my email list, because when you do, I will be dripping out a weekly email, actually 2 emails a week to you for about 2 months. And it's a curated list of the most important principles and tips you need to know and strategies and resources and people you should be following. It's really good. I get a lot of good feedback on it. So you can subscribe to that by going to mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. Today's podcast is sponsored by LocalLine. Hit your sales targets this year with LocalLine. LocalLine is the all-in-one sales platform for farmers and food hubs. Increase your sales and streamline your processes with features including e-commerce, inventory management, subscriptions, online payments, pick and pack lists, and more. Whether you're a CSA farmer like us, sell meat, run a food hub, or offer a herd share, LocalLine has the tools and features you need to succeed. A platform truly built for farmers and their needs. Trusted by thousands across the U.S., LocalLine is the platform you need to take your farm to the next level. Subscriptions start as low as $49 a month with no setup fees or sales percentages. Try LocalLine today and receive a free premium feature for 1 year when you use my coupon code MDF2024. Head to mydigitalfarmer.com/LocalLine and start today. And now back to the show. Today's topic is about something that has been on my list for quite a while. And the reason I'm bringing it up this week is because you are heading into the spring season and you're probably beginning to really think about sales. Like, how do I drive sales? What are the different ways I can build my messaging and my social media messaging in particular to get people to buy my stuff? And I wanted to start out by telling a story that I think is going to illustrate what today's message is all about. And I'm going to go back to Christmas time a few months ago and tell a story about my husband, Kurt. Now, Kurt and I don't usually give each other Christmas presents. If we do, it's a very small thing. I make a photo album every year, like an actual physical photo album, not the Shutterfly one that you get printed there. This is like, I print out the photos, I put them into an album. I write stuff on the pages and narrate our year. Like that's sort of my present to him every year. But sometimes I'll get him an actual thing too. But this is sort of our practice that we have an agreement. We're not really going to buy each other's presents. Well, this past year, in late November, early December, I noticed that Kurt started talking about his green Carhartt t-shirt a lot. Like he would say things like, "Oh, this is such a soft t-shirt. I love it so much." Or if I would come up and like snuggle with him, he'd be like, "Isn't this a great soft Carhartt t-shirt?" And just the way that he would say it caught my attention because he doesn't usually emphasize things the way he was doing it. But I got the distinct impression that he was trying to let me know that he would really like to have more of those Carhartt t-shirts for Christmas, and like maybe in different colors, because he would say, "Oh, these are different than the usual Carhartts that I get, aren't they, Corinna? Because see, they're really soft. And if you look on the back here, it's a large. And notice how it's a certain style of the Carhartt t-shirt with the pocket on the right side." Like he would just, he would describe the product to me in detail. Like he's pointing out the specific features to me. And I just thought to myself, I think he wants me to buy him more of these t-shirts. It was very subtle. The reason I tell this story is because I think it's a really great metaphor or example of how sometimes we get the idea to take action because of a very subtle reference to something, a very subtle hint. And he was definitely subtle. Sure enough, when Christmas came and he got these shirts, he was like, "Oh, you noticed. You got my hints." And I smiled. Today, I want to talk about the difference between direct social media posting versus indirect posting. And this was a concept that I learned actually from Amy Porterfield many years ago. And I found the distinction helpful when I learned it. I'm going to describe to you in this episode what the difference is. And I hope that it actually kind of frees you a little bit to realize that when we sell, when we pitch, we don't always have to do it in a super direct way, because sometimes that feels very salesy and uncomfortable. And that sometimes we can be very effective at sales by indirectly posting things on social media that indirectly point to our product or the way that we solve our customer's problem. So let me just first off remind everyone, like social media content, when we're sitting down and mapping out our social media content pillars, or maybe you actually, like me, take the time to build a monthly posting calendar. I don't stick to it 100%, but I like to have a rough guide. Maybe you even schedule some of your posts. But when we're thinking through what we're talking about specifically on social media, whether that's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it takes many different forms, right? Like we have the static post, which is just a photo. We could have the carousel. We could have reels. We could do stories. We could do live videos and so forth. The types of things that we can talk about are endless on these platforms. But at the end of the day, the goal of social media is, well, there's several of them, but the primary goal for me is, number one, to grow my email list. So it's to put the content on social media that's going to attract my ideal customer so that I can get them onto my email list. And then from there, I can warm them up through my weekly emails. It might take several months, but then I eventually pitch them my offer, and some of them decide to start buying from me. That's my primary purpose, to grow my email list. That's what I use social media for, to attract that ideal buyer. But it's also there to create brand awareness, product awareness, right? So we very top of funnel types of stuff where we're making people aware that we exist, who we are, what problem we solve, what kinds of products we sell, where we are, and so forth. So it's that very beginning of the journey kind of stuff. And I also think that social media also is a place for us to pitch our offers. Like we definitely can do that there. I personally feel like, at least with our business, I wouldn't say that a lot of our conversions come specifically directly from social media. They usually come through our email list. But that may also be that I just don't do a ton of pitching, outright pitching on my social media pages either. So those are kinds of the general goals for social media, in my opinion. I guess you could also argue that it's to create connection and community, to start building relationships with some of your clients, right, through messages and comments and so forth. But the types of things, though, that we can talk about on these platforms are truly endless. And this is the challenge when we sit down and we try to figure out what should I post about, what is going to drive that result of getting them on my list or attracting the right type of client to get them on my list, right? I want to qualify the lead. How do I make people aware I exist and what we do here? How do I get them to buy offers? We definitely have a lot of options open to us. Today's podcast is sponsored by Farm Marketing School. This is my monthly membership where farmers can come in and build marketing assets one at a time in special 30-day build projects that I've created for you. Right now, there are like 8 projects inside of Farm Marketing School, and every month a new one gets added. And you basically subscribe for 30 days, or you can stay in for a couple months or 3 months. You can stay in the whole year. But what you're doing is you go inside and you decide, this is the project that I want to work on. You take the class, the workshop class that's recorded, you just watch it, and then you build it yourself. So this is the DIY version of Accelerator. There's no coaching element or mastermind or Zoom meetups. It's just you going in there, watching the class that the accelerators saw live with me, and then working on it on your own. So if you're a DIY type of person and you think you can do it yourself, this is an amazing resource. There are projects in there for how to build a promotion plan, how to build your email nurture sequence, how to write a great weekly email, how to build the website homepage messaging, what goes on that homepage, how to build a lead magnet, and more. So if you want to see what's in the Farm Marketing School, you can head to mydigitalfarmer.com/FMS. And I encourage you to subscribe for 1 month. Check it out. I have a whole onboarding, like a crash course in marketing that I encourage you to take in your first week. There's an assessment inside of there that's going to help you know which elements you should build first. It's so good, and I would love it if you would give it a shot for a month. Let me know what you think, and if you decide you like it, you can stay in there for several months in the off season and get a ton of your marketing stuff done. What I want to discuss today is that there are 2 types of vehicles that we can use in our posting strategy that can help us achieve these aims, whether it's to pitch an offer or get someone to join our email list by subscribing to a lead magnet, or just posting pictures about what's going on the farm and making them aware that we exist. Now, the 2 different categories of posts are what are called direct posts, and then there's the indirect posts. And the name is somewhat indicative of what they're all about, but I will try to state the obvious. So a direct post is any kind of post that's super blunt, super obvious, basically saying, here's my product, here's the offer, here's the sale, go buy it here. And sometimes we have those kinds of posts, right? We put up a picture of our product and we say, now for sale, the XYZ at this price. Get it for a limited time. You can grab it while we're at the market this week. Go here, blah, 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 right? We give a very specific, outright, blunt, obvious, go buy this. And that's all that it's about. It's a salesy, promotional post. So an example of this for an offer, like a product offer, might be during CSA week when you are promoting your CSA, you might have a few posts that are outright, blunt, direct. Go buy my CSA. Here's how it works. Here's a picture of it. These are the pickup sites. This is what comes with it. The features, the benefits, the price, the process for buying it. Here's the link. Okay. CSA sales now open. Super obvious, super direct, super blunt. You can also have direct posts that are trying to get people to take action on, for example, getting onto your email list. That's my other main call to action on my Facebook page, is I want people to subscribe to my A to Z vegetable storage guide, which is this incredible, awesome lead magnet that does so well for me. It's a beautiful document that I created on Canva. It basically is a picture of all the different vegetables, how to store them, how to freeze them, how to prepare them. Do you peel them? Do you take off the roots? Whatever, right? It's all that stuff compiled into one beautiful, gorgeous document. And I have other lead magnets too. I have some that are like the 6 questions to ask before you join a CSA, or my top pieces of advice, CSA member advice before joining a CSA. I have a whole bunch of them that I kind of try out to see which ones do well. And sometimes I want to just outright pitch the lead magnet. So instead of being subtle about it, I just say, hey, you want to learn how to store vegetables? I've got your back. I have this amazing guide. It's going to give you all the skinny, and you can grab it here. It's totally free. It's going to blow your mind. Here's the link. Okay. That would be another example of a direct post. Now, I'm not selling the guide. It's a freebie, but it is an outright pitch for a free offer. I'm trying to get them to take direct action, and I'm not beating around the bush. I'm not trying to disguise it as something else. This is just a, hey, this is good. Go get it. Here's the link. Now, let's contrast that with indirect posts. And I really like these so much better because they feel more natural to me. And so I want to try to describe what an indirect post is and how it can function as a sales tool for you as well. I'm sure you've seen them. Maybe you just didn't realize that these are called indirect posts. Indirect posts is where the offer is not center stage. It's not the main message of the post. It's hinted at. It might be mentioned, like the product might get mentioned. You might see a picture of someone using the product, but it's not the focus of the message. It's subtle. Like when my husband subtly asked me to get those Carhartt t-shirts. In an indirect post, the product pitch is not the hook or the main message. It's really kind of positioned almost like an afterthought, like a by the way, if you want to, or hey, in passing, this is a thing we have here, or, it's like a PS in an email or in a letter. So an example, I have several examples of what indirect posts look like. Let's just say you're doing an Instagram story where you're documenting your CSA pack night, the actual boxing process of putting the CSA boxes together, and you're showing it in progress. The team's putting it together, and that's just a very interesting story. And then maybe on the 4th or 5th story in the series, you have a link in bio. You direct people to the link in bio where they can go learn more about how the CSA works. Or you give them outright the link to go and buy it. But it doesn't show up until the end, and it's really not the main focus. You're not really trying to drive a ton of people to go buy it. You're just very interested in showing them the process. You thought this would be interesting, and oh, by the way, if you're curious about learning more about this, you can go learn more about our CSA here. That would be an example of more of an indirect post. How about like a live video? If you do live videos on Facebook or even on Instagram, maybe you're out in the garlic fields. I have done this before. I can think of a very specific moment where I did this, where I was showing the process. We're live out here in the fields and we're actually scaping the garlic. And I wanted to show people what a scape looked like because it's kind of cool, and how we cut them. and how some of them are standing straight up, and that's our indicator plant, right? So I sort of walk through the process, and that was really the goal of the video, was to educate people about scapes. And then as an afterthought, it felt like an afterthought. At the end, I said, hey, if you're interested in trying one of these scapes, they're going to be available in our online store next week. Make sure you get onto our email list so that you can get invited into the store. I tell people what's available every week and you'll get invited to it. But again, that wasn't the main focus of the content. I really wanted to just teach, and it really felt like a PS, like a subtle nod to the offer to get onto my email list. Okay, that's an example of an indirect post. A picture of me prepping a meal in the kitchen with my son. Okay, so this would be a static image. And again, maybe the focus, the caption that I'm writing about is just explaining what we're making, how my Josiah is helping me with dinner tonight. It's sort of like a play-by-play diary of a farmer's life. Here's what we're doing on Wednesday night. We're making these really cool celery root steaks. This is one of Josiah's favorite meals, and he first introduced it to us, and he loves to make it. And yeah, just a snapshot of our life. And so I mention that the CSA box, or that the celery root came from the CSA box for that week. So I make people aware of the fact that there is such a thing as a CSA box. And maybe I even have a picture of the box on the table in the photo, but it's not the main focus of the post. The post is really there to tell people what we're making for dinner tonight and how I make stuff with my son, and isn't that cool? And then at the very bottom, if somebody clicks more and reads the whole post, they might see, hey, if you want to get one of our CSA 4-week samplers, click here. All right. And then it's up to them to kind of go do some more research on what the heck that is. That isn't the focus of the post, to explain the CSA and list out all the features and bullet points and, how you get them and drive them to take action. Are you tracking here? So I have 2 more examples. One might be a picture of a delicious meal that was made from the CSA box. And this might be a really foodie type recipe, right? That's a little fancier looking, that actually looks like a gorgeous photo that you might see at a nice restaurant. And my post copy might be, hey, one of our CSA members just shared this with me. She made this last week with our Brussels sprouts, and doesn't it look amazing? I'm always so impressed by the stuff that our CSA members come up with. And if you want to get onto our CSA wait list, we'll be opening up the doors in a few weeks. You could be making stuff like this too. Okay, that's another example of an indirect post where you do have a call to action, but it's not the main purpose. I'm really just hoping you'll be inspired by the story of Tammy. And then, of course, the final example I have here is a live video unboxing of the CSA, or a box photo, just a static image of the CSA box with all the vegetables laid out very beautifully. An example of that could be an example of an indirect post, because I might not even mention that they should buy it. It could just be, hey, this was the week 17 CSA box this week. Here's what was in there. X, Y, Z, and explaining stuff about it. And yeah, that could be it. I don't even have to say, if you want to join or get on the wait list, I don't even have to bring that up. It could just be, I just want to share with you the really beautiful box this week that we put together at the farm. And that would create curiosity. They see the word CSA box or farm box, and it builds awareness of the fact that we have a product called a CSA farm box. And it might pique people's curiosity, or it might be the 3rd or 4th time they've seen a CSA box photo in my feed. And now they're like, gosh, I keep seeing that. This looks really cool. I'm going to go look it up, right? That would be an example of an indirect post, because it's subtle. It's It's hinting that you have a product, but you're not necessarily outright asking them to go take action yet on it. So sometimes an indirect post doesn't even have a call to action. It's just showing the product in use or highlighting a feature of it in some way. Okay? So I wanted to do this episode because I wanted to point out that there are different ways that we are essentially selling a product. Sometimes it does need to be the direct post style. Because I think you need better. People often ask me, like, which is better? And the answer is you need both. I personally like the 80-20 or 70-30 rule, where more of them are indirect on my social media pages than direct, because indirect feels more comfortable to me on the platform. Because I feel like people are coming to Facebook and Instagram, well, especially to Facebook, to just connect with each other and see what we're doing, what people are doing in their lives, show pictures of their kids, what they're working on, etc. It's showing off and connecting and networking. It's not, oh, I'm coming here so that I can buy stuff and be pitched offers. So to me, it feels more native to the platform to be sharing the stories going on the farm that hint at the product that I have, but it's kind of like a subtle ask. Builds curiosity. The direct is more for that small percentage of people who are on social media who have been intrigued by the stuff they've been seeing on your platform, and they're like ready to buy now. They see that direct post and it's all clear and everything clicks into place and it's all spelled out and they're like, yeah, I'm ready. And they go and they buy it, and you've explained what it is, how it works, how to buy it, and you've given the call to action link. And there's clarity, right? These types of direct posts need to be in the rotation, because when the person's ready to buy, they're looking for that info. And when they get it, they're ready and they go. So I think you need to have both the subtle indirect that feels more comfortable, that'll kind of allows you to be more expressive and just tell stories. And then there's the occasional direct, here you go. This is, where you're going to buy it. Here's the process. So I wanted you to be aware that they both exist. They're both important. And I want you to experiment with the different styles. And if you are one of those farms that has primarily been using direct posts, I want you to consider maybe doing more of the indirect and just see if you notice more traction. You can even experiment with using indirect posts as Facebook ads, because I think sometimes those, for lack of a better word, are better disguised if they don't look so outright promotional and they feel more native to the conversational attitude that you see on Facebook, for instance. Even on Instagram, people might look at them more and think, oh, this is just a beautiful picture in the feed. And then when they actually read, they might see the call to action in there. Something to play around with. So that is sort of my homework for you today, is to notice, number one, pay attention to your feed and try to audit other accounts and the styles of posts. Are they outright direct promotional, or are they more indirect and promotional? And then I want you to experiment with both types. If this is CSA week for you and you are a CSA farm and you want to experiment with this, try both varieties and know that they're both important. All right, this was a shorter episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Today's show notes can be found at mydigitalfarmer.com/250. If you like today's episode and you want to share it with another farmer, please help me in spreading the word that this podcast exists. Go into your Facebook groups and tell people about the podcast, or maybe just grab the link of this episode and text it to a friend that you think needs to hear it. Now, don't forget, if you want some more marketing tips for your farm business, please get onto my email list. It's so good. If you think it's not good after getting a couple of emails, then just unsub. My feelings won't be hurt. But I've had so many people tell me that it's given them a great starting roadmap of how to start learning the ropes of farm marketing. So you can Grab that at mydigitalfarmer.com/subscribe. I will send you a couple of emails a week for 2 months and really share with you the key principles, some resources, tips to help you get better at your marketing. Don't forget, I'm also now on Instagram. You can follow me at mydigitalfarmer. Go leave me a DM and tell me what you thought of today's episode. Thanks for joining me today, everyone. Have an awesome week. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.